in the community. Yeah, and they ask him about a shidduch. He has to be very specific.
What do you mean? What are you saying?
The trusting the information you're giving them about the shidduch.
Yes, somebody that we do say that in the Negeat Hilchos Shidduchim, we do say that if somebody trusts you, then it's harder.
Somebody calls the Rosh Yeshiva to ask him about a bacher, and he's protecting his bacher because this is Talmud. Is the Rosh Yeshiva mechuyev to say everything about the bacher, or it's his Talmud, and he's gonna not?
What happens when he doesn't, and they end up getting divorced?
So sometimes these things happen. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, it's true. So, but there are certain halachas that apply where fakir. Sometimes he could fudge it, and sometimes he's absolutely not allowed to fudge it because he knows that his word is going to be taken as like halacha l'Moshe Messina, right? I don't remember each prat exactly when we say what, but if
I once asked the Rosh Yeshiva if there's shalom bayis in the house. Very direct,
right?
The Rosh Yeshiva says, "To my knowledge, there is." I mean, that was a very generic answer, but
right.
I always answer. He's
You
like
must
a
have called
Sefer
Ben
Torah.
Brafman
Every week
before
is
he
a different
answered
parsha.
What'd you say, Rebecca?
I said I always answer. He's like a Sefer Torah. Every week is a different parsha.
Yeah.
Except this week, though.
Yeah.
Except this week is double. Okay.
Zev, you have like you for a korav, there's more leeway to say more information to somebody who's related to you than not. I can't say I understand that, but that's what it is, right? Maybe sorcha al tesalim from your own gossip.
So the Torah is much more. Is allow you to say a white lie on a relative? Is that what it is?
Not a white lie. You have more of a shibud to be more honest to a relative. Meaning, a guy calls up and says, "How's this family?" Now it's your relative. If it's not your relative, and there's shalom bayis, like you just said, a case shalom bayis issues, right? So if it's not a relative, then the person doesn't ask if there's shalom bayis issues. You're not mechuyev to say that there's shalom bayis issues. If the guy asks. If the guy asks if there's shalom bayis issues, then you have to answer him honestly, right? But if he doesn't ask, then you don't have to say. If it's a relative, you might have to say.
So Yaakov, according to that, you should have warned me better.
Shock.
What I'm saying, you got to know to ask the questions. You have to know to ask the questions.
Right.
Yeah. So that's all. But I'm saying,
You're a big talk, Aaron. You know, if one you'd be living right now in a cold basement with two rooms and just with no toilet with no shower. So what are you gonna come?
I'm saying, but again, people that are in positions of where people are counting on them, it's a little bit different. That's what Orchos Tzadikim is saying, right? That you can't just say things, shoot your mouth off, and say, yeah, the guy's trusted, right? Yeah, listen, there was somebody told me there was a whole phone call between I don't know, there was information about a guy, and one of the guys is like a player, as we say in the business world, and they're texting him what to say to convince the guy about something. And the guy said, "Oh, this guy, he's a wonderful guy. He's mamish gewaldic." The guy didn't ever heard of him. He was texted like, suggest this fellow, right? And the guy's in a position of power, so people listen to him, even though he never heard of the guy in his life, right? Whatever. Anyways, Shai.
We were Yotze Muster for the last week now.
There we go. That's right. Yeah. Okay. David's still on even. So, yeah. Anyways. Okay. Because I'm cold.
Okay. You're never cold.
The heat just went on in here. Okay. Naftali Liner is here in case anybody wants to know. He wants to know why I'm wearing a coat.
Should have been on the beginning of halacha.
Yaakov, I hope you have that shawarma.
I didn't get home from work.
somewhere.
I should have been.
I hope you give him that soggy shawarma somewhere. I hope you have.
We discussed this an hour ago. The heat.
What, the heat?
Yeah. Naftali says he wasn't home. He doesn't realize that Zoom is not a heter. You don't have that heter. You wouldn't mean you weren't home.
I was at work.
You can't Zoom from work?
I was working.
So? I'm joking. Okay. I'm just saying the Zoom. I'm just trying to tell you, don't use an excuse that you weren't home because that doesn't work for Zoom.
I wanted to finish.
I'm just saying it doesn't. You weren't home, so therefore you weren't on Zoom. No, it doesn't work. Anyways, anyway, okay. So
let's start today's short daf.
Shri Yaakov, so you can
Aaron,
tell.
I think Avi Khan beats your record of the youngest on the daf. How old was it that you had the youngest?
Huh?
Byron one time was holding his grandkid on the
Oh,
daf.
all right. I had, yeah.
How many days old?
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was holding the baby. I don't see the I can't see.
4 days.
Avi, you look good over there. I say Avi.
I look good in pink.
You look good in pink, yeah. Really makes your eyes pop.
Byron, how many days old was the baby you were holding?
Older than 4 days, you know.
They don't give it. They don't
I
give it.
I wouldn't put an anacle with this crowd before
Before
either the kiddush or the bris milah, one or the other. I wouldn't do it.
I held my kid in the ICU.
You know what?
My kid in the ICU 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I would put a kid ever, but okay. That who was Rabbi Yochanan's mother brought him to Bismedish?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so you could say he brought his ankle to Zoom.
5 each and that 5 each. He'll even be well. He used to bring it. He brought his first son to base medrash on a blanket. Kept him right on the floor in the base medrash when he was mamish, itsy baby. Yeah.
So that's it. So Avi Khan is going to say he brought his ankle to the Zoom. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so we're on mamish at the Mem Tes Amud Aleph. So again, basically. Well, the truth is, it does have to do with Avi Khan holding his ankle tonight stuff, but a little bit, because he knows for sure it's his ankle, but we'll get to that in a minute. Right? We'll see in a minute. But anyway, so
that's a tease. We're all going to stay tuned for this one.
Yes. Anyway, so we have this the machlokes Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Shmuel had to darshan out the psukim again because the psukim by Nazir and by Kohen Gadol give this blanket thing that they cannot become tamei to mesim, and then it says aviv, imay, each can't become tamei to his mother, to his father, achiv, achaisai. So based on those 4 seemingly extra words, they have different ways of darshaning. So now we ask Rabbi Kiva, right? The top line, Rabbi Kiva michti, loishna kohen gadol lechudei, v'loishna kohen gadol v'hu nazir. So Rabbi Kiva, so one of the differences in the limudim is that Rabbi Shmuel said that you need an extra limud to tell you that a kohen gadol who's also a nazir doesn't become tamei does become tamei to a mace mitzvah. Because you would think, okay, maybe a kohen gadol becomes tamei to a mace mitzvah, maybe a nazir. But if he's a super duper kaddish person, because he's a nazir and a kohen gadol, maybe he shouldn't become tamei to a mace mitzvah. So we say that he does. Rabbi Kiva though said he doesn't care. He doesn't need an extra limit for that. If you're being matir, you're being matir. What's the difference if there's 1 kedusha, 2 kedushas, right? So that's what the Gemara is asking. Rabbi Kiva michti loishna kohen gadol l'chudei v'loishna kohen gadol v'hu nazir. He doesn't differentiate between whether he's just a kohen gadol or whether he's a kohen gadol and a nazir. Right? So nafkam la'chaisai because he learns it out from achaisai. Right? So now the question is, if that's the case, So then la'aviv le'imay lamali. Then why do you need aviv and imay for? Right? Meaning, if you learn out from, if you're learning out from the pasuk of from Achaisai, that that a kohen gadol who's not a nazir, so he becomes tamei. So then you don't need any sort of extra pasuk for what do you call it, nazir and kohen gadol together, right? So then Mamela, what does he do with the extra pasuk v'lav v'lima? Meaning, if it's you don't need the pasuk of those two. So the Gemara said, right? So that's basically, again, we're just asking back and forth what each one's doing with each other's psukim. So the Gemara says, no, we need la'aviv and le'imay. Why? Tzrichi, the ikas of aviv. If the Torah would have just said that he doesn't become tummy to his father, the reason why a nazir can't become tummy to his father is the chazaka ba'amahu. How do we know his father's a father? Right? It's only a chazaka, right? Because we say that roiv bias go with the baal. So the assumption is that baby goes with the father, but it's not for sure. Meaning the mother is the mother we know because the doctors testify we saw this baby come out of the mother, right? But a mother that we know for sure gave birth, litamila. So he should be able to come tamei to her. So therefore, we need the pasuk to tell us no, even the mother not. It's a very fascinating havamina. You would think that a nazir doesn't become tamei to his father, right? Because maybe his father's not his father. Okay, so maybe there's a small doubt, right, that his father's not a father. So Mamela don't become tamei to him, but the mother, she's vadai, his mother.
Is there a roiv?
That's what we're going with. We're saying with the Rav. That's what I'm saying. So Avi Khan's anical there, since it's his daughter's baby, it's his daughter's daughter. So that's Vada, his grandchild, right? If it was right.
No.
Mother.
We don't know Avi's. I don't even want to say
no,
the words,
it's his
no.
daughter's.
We don't know if it's his daughter.
No.
We know the mother. We don't know Avi's father.
It's his. We don't know if Avi's daughter is his daughter. Right. True.
Right.
But good. But assuming that his daughter's daughter, Zikr, his daughter's.
Yeah.
Meaning, yes. What I'm saying is the baby is definitely his daughter's baby. Look at that, Mama's show and tell, Avi. What would we do without to understand the daf without you?
No, that's not correct.
Why not?
It's a robe that it's his granddaughter.
No, meaning no. That it's his granddaughter, meaning that it's his daughter's daughter, is not a roiv. Now the question is his daughter, that it's his daughter, that's you need the roiv. But that it's his daughter's daughter, it's
his wife's granddaughter. Is for sure. It's Avi's wife's granddaughter.
That's correct.
That's for sure.
That's right. He is holding his wife's granddaughter. That's for sure. Whether it's his granddaughter, whether it's his granddaughter, ultimately. I'm sorry, Avi. I didn't really mean it.
No, it's okay. I just wanted, sometimes the babies come out with the same beard as the grandfather, but it's the granddaughter. I can't say that.
Avi, we're giving you an opening tonight at 3 in the morning.
One thing, when you mentioned when the daughters get mentioned on the daf, it's big chusim. I'm telling you.
Oh,
we started Yavamas.
Right. Teresa's daughter was the right. There you go, Avi. I'm just giving you. We're giving you an out at 3 o'clock in the morning when somebody says, "Can you feed the baby?" You say, "Hey, I'm just a roiv." You guys are a chazaka.
Recording in progress.
Oh man, I gotta switch device again. Yeah, you could try and pull that card and see if it works. But either way, it's fascinating to me that we'd have a havamina that the reason why a nazir can't become tamei to his father is because it's only a roiv, but his mother is vadai, right? So that's why it has to say ima. Vikas rachmana ima.
Isn't that the brisker of answer with kibbud av? Why is av before aim?
Well, because was it
the same question? Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So because of Rahmana Imai.
Why? What does the Brisker say? What is it?
Because you need to tell that even though your father's only a roiv, a guy might come up with a lumdus and say, "Why do I have to be mechabed my father?" Right? It's only a roiv. that he's my father.
Okay, so
So that's what the Torah is telling you. No, you got to be mechaber him, right? That's the way he says it, Gershon, right? That's
Yeah, he said this, and then he also said, but besides that, it's also kibbud aim, an extra kibbud aim to be mechaber the father first. Otherwise, it's felt in kibbud aim. If you're saying, oh, it's only a right, what is your mother going to think?
right, yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, but that's why it says father. Because of Rahmana Imai, Havamina Imai Loy Litamela. Maybe he doesn't become tummy to his mother. The lav azul zara basra. The children don't go with maternity; they go with paternity, right? Meaning, we go. It's really talking about the shvatim. Which shevet do you go with? You go with whichever shevet your father's from. Same thing. If the mother's a guy and the father's a yid, so the kid's considered a guy, right? So maybe because it all goes buzz of the father, so maybe for the father. What am I saying? I'm saying it backwards. Right? Because the mother, you don't become tamei too, because lamaisa there's no that we don't go basa her with the yichus, the lav azal zara basa. The kids don't go basa the mother. Aval aviv, but the father right? It says that it goes for the mishpachas of the houses of their father. So you would say he should become tummy to his father. Kamash Malon. So that's why we need the pasuk to say la'aviv to tell you no, he still does not become tummy, not to the father, not to the mother. Okay, very interesting havaminas there. Fine. Then the Gemara says the Bach sticks in the word Rebbe Kiva, right? I'll call nafshis meis lo yavoi lamali. Right, so again, that's the basic rule. When it says on all nafshis of mace, he shouldn't come. So what is that coming to teach us? On Talmud Beis now.
What's that pasuk referring to?
What is it referring to?
Yeah.
The Kohen Gadol not becoming tummy to anybody.
We had the pasuk yesterday.
We keep going around and around.
Yeah, which are we still handling Rabbi Kiva?
Yes, this is where the Bach sticks in with Rebbe Kiva.
Wasn't it Mefurish yesterday?
Well, he uses it as a klal.
Rabbi Kiva, I mean, nafshis elo harachayk and meis elo hakrayv.
Right.
So what does it mean here? What is he?
What's alcohol nafsh? Uses the word nefesh and the word mace. Daddy darshan. What's with alcohol nafshois? Mace, right? I think kol is the thing, right? I think the nafsh. Well, that was started at Girsa Yisru yesterday too. Whether it was nefesh, nafshois, right? Which one he's darshaning? But anyways, so alcohol nafsh made loyavi lamili on Talmud Beis. What does he need it for? Right? Alcohol. So the word alcohol lafuke rechoikim, that comes to exclude relatives who are. I don't know if it means relatives, but it means people not from the 7 kroivim, meaning anybody that's not from the close relatives. Mace lafuke kroivim, right? So that we already said. The mace comes to exclude relatives. Nafshos, what's nafshos? Lafuke revias dam sheyatzu mishnei mesim, right? This we had also. We said before that it's coming to exclude if you have a revias dam that came out from two mesim, right? Meaning we know that a revias dam is enough to make somebody tameh. What happens if that revius dam comes from two people, meaning a half a revius from one person or one dead person, and a half a revius from another dead person? So how do you know shematama ba'oil? How do you know that if you have a blood sample that's a revius of blood from 2 different bodies? So how do you know that it's a problem? Shenemar al kol nafshes meis lo yavoy. So that's what al kol nafshes meis says you can't come. So that's coming to include those 2. Okay.
A half of a revius comes from one body, so the person's not considered dead. The half revius comes out.
No. The minimum blood that a person needs to live is the person has to have a revius of dam inside his body in order to be alive. Once a person has less than a revius dam, then at least the Gemara says then that person will not stay alive. So therefore, a revius dam of a dead person is enough, because that's considered like a life unto itself.
I understand, but why is a half from one and a half from other considered one for tumah?
That's his chiddush. That's his chiddush. That it doesn't have to be from one. The revius does not have to be from one person.
Wait, why? I'm just trying to understand.
Because it's a din in the revius of dam. A revius of dam.
A revius of dam is a sign of life. Why mitzvah of two people is it not in a life?
A valid question. Meaning, if the reason why revius dam is matama is because that represents a nefesh, so it has to be from one person.
Right.
That's what Zev's asking. Right. So I think the pshat is that once they were masakin that a revius dam is matama, then it does not have to come from one person.
But it's not a din in the nefesh; it's a din in the dam.
That's what we're saying. Yes.
No, it's two different dinim, Zev. We learned that the chashivas of dam is down to a revius. A chashivas shir of dam to be matami is a revius. That's all we learned from the life-giving force. Now we know it's a revius. Does it matter if it comes from who? What does it make a difference?
Because the reason why you're only considering it mace is because if it comes from one person, it's considered, and the person doesn't have it, it's considered mace.
No, that's not. It's not that. No, the reason we consider a revius a chashuv shir is because that's the minimum a person can have. That just tells me the sheer revius. Now I know a sheer revius is what's matama.
So let's say a person has 6 revius of blood in his body, and he gives one, and he gives one out. That's tummy?
Yes.
No, the person has to be dead.
I'm saying, well, then he dies. But let's say correct. But yes.
The person can have all his dam in his body. One revius comes out into a different house. That's going to be matame ba'oil. It's not because it's the last revius. It's not only the last revius that's matame. We learned that a revius is matame because if it's the last revius, he can still live.
Yeah, but those are two dinim, whether it's...
Right, so you're saying person, so because once they established the din that a revius of dam, meaning a revius, they said a revius of dam is matama, finished. We're trying to be oiber chachamim and trying, where'd you get a revius dam from? So they tell us we got a revius dam because that's the minimum amount the person lives. That's fine. But the bottom line is they made a takona. I don't know if it's a lashon of a takona, but they said that a revius of dam is matama, ba'oil. Finished. It doesn't make a difference where it comes.
If I get a revius dam from a goy, that's not considered?
Well, a goy is not matama. Well, it's a
wait, but you tell me a din of revius dam.
Not from a yid, but it has to be from a yid. Yeah. That's the way you have to understand it. That it's once they would establish it as a revius, and then it's a revius, right? Same way, for me a kizayis, and for other people a kizayis ain't filling me up. Now by no way, shape, or form is a kizayis filling me up. I'm sure there's many people that are kizayis is very satisfactory for, right? But the din is the din. The din is the din. Right, for whatever reason, they decided kizayis is
that's a shear. I understand the shear because I just from two separate bodies is two different trefts.
Right. Still fits the shear. You could have
gavras. I don't know.
A woman who hardly eats anything, and for her, a quarter of a kizayis is filling. She still has to have a kizayis.
We have to know what the world normally is, right?
No, it says no. But here they said a revius of dam is matama, finished. Now you want to go
from one person, from two.
Two. That's what he's saying. It could even be from two. It could even be
from how does he know from two?
Because once they were misakin that a revius is metama, then that's it.
Maybe they were misakin it only from one person.
But that's what he's saying. Not. He's saying not.
Zev. Usually shiurim are halach l'mesh b'sinai. If we would have said that this shir is halach l'mesh b'sinai, would you have struggled with a tziruf of two people?
I have no choice. Yeah, right. I have no choice.
Fine. So here, there's a problem with it being halach l'mesh b'sinai. So we learn it from somewhere else, but it's the same din. The din is revius is matame.
That's what you have
Now
to
I
say.
have a drasha to say there's a tziruf.
The good kasha.
No, Zev's is 100% right. What are these two half of revians have nothing to do with each other. They're from two different people.
Right.
They happen to be in the
It's
same
not the first time
They
we've
happen to
had
be in the
tziruf
same
in
test
Nazir.
tube. It's not.
We're gonna get into tomorrow and the next day, Bez Hashem. But what happens if you have a chatzi of one skull and a chatzi of another skull? Matama?
A Chatzi skull is a big enough share.
No, you need a skull. Let's
It's not.
see. What's up? Let's see the next Mishnah first, but then try and bring over this Revius Dam to that situation. I'm not so sure it's so simple, but here we go.
Just one question. So someone takes out more than a revius of dam from a live person. Is that dam tame, or the person has to be dead?
No, it has to be dead.
Oh, never mind.
No, it's not. Never mind. It's a good question. I'm confused with it too, because if that's the case, then even if there's live people in the hospital, well, you're not taking Revius.
Well, I was thinking, what about all these shuls that have blood drives?
Yeah, no, they're right. They could take a Revius Dam. They could take a
They
Revius.
take a lot more than revius. Revius is nothing.
Yeah, right. So that's true. That's true. So
That's
Anyway.
the difference between an aver. That's the difference. Where it's the chilik between a skull and a revius dam.
right. Aver would be.
One's an aver, one's gets the din of an aver, but it's not an aver.
Don't worry, we're gonna be covering this with a fine tooth comb over the next couple of blocks. For those that are in the Chevra Kadisha, this is for this Gemara for you. For those that want to be in the Chevra Kadisha, this is also Gemara for you. If you get grossed out by this stuff, then this is not the Gemara for you. All right, so that's fine. So without further ado, the next Mishnah. Yeah, al elu tumas hanazir megaleach. These are the tumas that a nazir has to shave his head. Meaning, if a nazir becomes tameh in middle of his nazirus, so we said that he has to go do the regular tahara process, and then he has to bring his korbanos, and then he goes back to starting the nazirus again. Right? The Gemara always calls it that it's because he has to shave his head. So, but it means he has to do the whole process. So what are they? Al hameis. So if he touches a mace, that's pretty pashut, which we're going to see in the Gemara about that. Well, kazayas min a mace, and even a kazayas from a mace, right? Meaning, if you have a kazayas of a mace, that's enough to be matama. So now, getting back to Zev's question, let's say you have a kazayas from two mason, right?
So Yaakov, I wasn't going to use, but you brought it back up. So and there's medical people in the Shia. I have no idea. Are there types of dam that repel each other that they wouldn't combine?
What do you mean, like the blood types?
If I have a half a revius of bourbon and I have a half a revius of scotch from parents, can I make kiddush? It's disgusting. It makes a revius, but they're disgusting together. So I mean, just by dam, is there a dam that repels each other? There's medical people on the Shia.
Oh no, don't you? That's why you need.
I don't know about repels each other, but if you give the wrong blood to the wrong person, the body.
No, that I know.
So what do you mean by
Spez asking if you have an O positive and you have A negative, does it work together? That's what my Spez is.
Yeah. So I
It'll
think
all mix together.
They will mix or they don't mix.
Yeah, it's not oil and water.
But could you put that into the body?
Only if you want to kill him.
Well, then that's what he says. It doesn't mix.
It doesn't mix. If it doesn't mix, how come one reveals you could take half from this guy and half from the other guy?
That's a tushtel exactly, but okay, whatever it is. Let's see. Okay, where does the din kazayas from a mace come from? Right?
No.
That was the bone. Because an embryo is the size of a kizayas, meaning the first sign of life is a kizayas. Right? So therefore, like the same thing with the revius of dam. The minimum amount of dam that a person needs to live is a revius. The smallest amount of when a fetus, I don't know exactly what it means, because I think as a fetus is, I guess the embryo, I don't know when it becomes viable. It's not viable when it's the size of a kizayas, right? Meaning at the first point that you could tell that it's a human, I think that's a pshat. That's when it becomes the size of a zayas. Okay, anyways, val kizayas nutzel, kizayas of natzel nutzel, right? That's when
I'm sorry. A lady has a miscarriage. A revius of dam comes out. So and she's married to Kohen. When there was a base of English, he's Thomas Mace.
I don't know how to know whether the revius dam came from the fetus or not, but yes, theoretically, we're going to get to this, but we're going to get to it. But yeah, there's tumah based from a fetus.
Kohen today Bisman is a lot of
there. Yeah, Kohen should not be there if his wife's having a miscarriage. Yes, at least, yeah, in the hospital. Yeah, as far as I know, he should not be there.
Let's say it's
Mason
in
was
his house.
considered a mace like any
Let's
other.
say what?
We're going to get to it. It's going to be the end of tonight's daf. It's going to be yeah.
Why is that not considered another Mason? Like a Zayik, I don't even say Zayik, right? But like,
Well, because I mean, it's considered a karev. Or could be.
See, wouldn't it depend on what level it is? I'm saying there's. I'm saying if it's isn't it totally like if it's matami or mitzad then you let this certain
40 days. So that's nothing.
Well, guy's
Right.
a Kohen. His wife's having a miscarriage, so he just sends her into the hospital and says, "Have a good one. Take care." That's what's supposed to happen.
I don't know, Taka, what Aaron Kaplan is saying. Is that considered a relative? So he's
when
could
they
be.
do that, what's the name of that?
It's not. It has no din. Has no din as a live person.
Well,
Has
whatever.
no-
Of shach. If it has a din, it's a relative. If it
no,
doesn't-
you're saying that dam does, but you're saying that the dam does. You make an independent thing of
Only
dam.
if it comes from a mace, but if it's not called a mace,
If
then
it's a
not dam.
miscarriage, what was it?
have that blood, the woman who's alive, most of that blood. I don't know what blood is coming from the fetus. We have to ask Dr. Corman. He's not on yet, Dr. Corman. Okay, when he listens to it, he'll have to weigh in on this. But
You're saying right for the time it's not. It's mostly from
I have
her.
no idea. I'm assuming there's no way to tell.
I mean, unless they did an abortion with a coat hanger, why would there be dam from the fetus?
Yeah, you're asking medically, it comes from the placenta.
Yeah.
It's the mother.
There's blood. There isn't blood. A 4-month miscarriage. There's no blood coming out of the baby itself.
No,
No.
not that
Okay.
I know of.
No, but a 6-week or 8-week miscarriage that comes out. So that's blood from where, doctor?
No, he's saying it's not from the fetus. He's saying it's
He
from
said
the
4 months, 6-7 weeks.
6-7 weeks, there isn't enough blood in the embryo to give you a revius.
Fetus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right there.
I'm sorry.
No. These are good questions. Because I in a kazayas of nutzel. So now again, this is basically stuff when the body starts decaying. Kazayas worth of that. And a spoonful of rekev, which is also some sort of decayed, the skin from the decayed body. Ala shedra on the spine, ala gugoilis and the skull. Right? So these are all going to be matama. Val aver min mace and any aver from the mace. Right? What?
What is it to be from a mace? Aver.
I don't think it does. I think it just means that it's
What's the next words?
Well, that's but that's see, this is the problem because the Gemara is going to say, why do you even need to say al hames? If a kizayis from a mace is tame, then a mace for sure is tame, right? So why do you have to say al hames? Val kizayis min hames. Now here too is val aver min hames, val aver min achai sheyesh ala basar kiroi. Right? You don't need that second one if you have the first one. You don't need the first one if you have the second one.
Isn't it for the differentiation between chai and mace with the basar kiroi?
What do you mean? But they're both tummy.
The Avram and a mace does not need kazayas of basar or basar karoi. It just needs the Aver.
Correct. Yes, that is
But
true.
the Avram and a chai would need the basar karoi.
Correct.
To be mechalik between the Aver and a chai and a mace.
Thus, it has to have basar with it, which I'm not even sure what's basar. What is basar? Flesh, or is that skin, or is that fats? What is it?
Neither. It's the tissue between the muscle and the skin and the muscle is basar.
Also, yeah. Okay, I don't know. All right.
Most basar, what we call basar, is all muscle.
Right. Yeah, I hear. Okay, but anyway, so on an aver from the chai that has enough flesh on it that it would be live. V'chatzi kav atzamas, and a half a kav of bones. Right, that's a measurement. Right, meaning even bones that don't have flesh with it, but a half a kav of them is going to be matama. V'chatzi lug dam, and a half of a lug of dam. Right. Now this is interesting. What do you mean? Haven't we been saying revius? What's a chatzi lug? A chatzi lug. When we say a revius, it means a revius halug. Right. So now we're saying chatzi lug dam is shtei revius. That's what the way the Mefarish says. It's two revius. I thought we just said that one revius is matama. Why do you need two revius? Right. So we say that it's a halacha l'Moshe Messinai, right? In Taisus Va'al. Yeah, it says that it's halacha l'Moshe Messinai that a nazir does not have to take a haircut if it's less than a half a lug of blood. Right? Talk about confusion. Right? So it's a revius of dam is metama, but a nazir, if he becomes tummy to a revius of dam, does not have to take the haircuts and start again. Halacha l'Moshe Messinai. It only has to be double the revius. It has to be a half of a lug. Pamagon, and if he touches them now, so those are all the types of things that make tumah. Now, how does he become tummy? On touching it, bamason, or carrying it, even if he doesn't touch it. Bal ahilon, and in the tent, meaning if he's under a tent with them. Bal etzem kisa'ira, and a barley the size of, a bone the size of a barley. Right, amagoi, on touching it. Bal masai, that's just carrying it. But there's no tumas oil on a bone the size of a barley, right?
Less than the size of the barley.
Well, that's in kissa.
Right. So kissa oira is metame. Less is not.
Correct. Right. So al elu on nazir megalech, and all these things the nazir has to take a haircut. Umaze b'shlishi shvi. I'm sorry, and they have to sprinkle the blood on him on the third and the seventh day. The Saiser as a kaidman, and it's Saiser all the days that he kept, meaning if he has Naziris for 30 days and on the 29th day becomes tummy to any one of these things in the list in the Mishnah, he has to start again. He cannot start counting until he becomes Torah, which means it's at the minimum of 7 days. And then he starts again. Or maybe it's Karbanaisav, and then he has to bring the Karbanas, and then he can restart the Nazir count. Okay, so that's the Mishnah. Fine. Now, Tana Rabbanon, Reb Meir, after Reb Meir's Petira, Amrlan Rabbi Yehuda l'Talmidos, Rabbi Yehuda said to his Talmidim, meaning, so Reb Meir is Nifter, and now his Talmidim are looking for a yeshiva to go to. Talk about the Orchos Tzadikim. I guess he didn't want to appoint his family members or whatever it is to be the Rosh Yeshivas. I don't know. So they went all looking for a yeshiva. But Rabbi Yehuda told his Talmidim, Al Yikanzel Talmidim Reb Meir Lakan, don't let him in. Why? Mipnei shenis ranke shenis rak. I don't know. Right? Shekansai. The kantonin. I knew I was pronouncing it like a kanter, to be makanter, because they're kantronim, which means that they're troublemakers.
Like critics.
What?
Critics.
Meaning they're not really coming to learn. They're coming to hakmi a chinik and halachas.
Maybe contrarian would be a similar word.
It could be. I wonder.
It sounds like the guy you have saved your phone is Suffolk One.
No, Suffolk One is not a contrarian. I got troublemaker and the other ones. Those guys. Yeah.
I never understood these Gemaras. Like, there's no Lashon Hara on these people. Like,
there's no Lashon Hara. Is it Lord you asking about Rabbi Yehuda doing Midim or the Gemara to say it over, or both?
No, saying it over is not a kasha. This doesn't.
Not because then the Chumash is
what?
Then the whole chumash you have a problem with.
No, I don't have a problem saying it over. I'm just.
Rabbi Yehuda could say it to Talmud because it was for a good reason. These guys.
Maybe it's for Tayelis. They're trouble.
It's like protecting the shidduch.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what it is. It was a Tayelis. What he should give up his whole yeshiva, get ruined because these guys are going to get in trouble. Right? So he said, don't let him in.
Same as Peretz does to me every other night here. Don't let
go.
me on, because whatever. Kantanen.
Correct. So Tochak Sumchus v'Nichnas. Sumchus, who was a Talmud of Reb Meir, pushed his way into the yeshiva. Now, I don't know if pushed means, Lakewood style pull. Maybe you shouldn't say pull. Or did he physically push his way in, or did he know somebody who knew somebody who got him in?
That's pushing.
I guess.
Well, you just left your Shalmi land. Tochak v'Nichnas.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I don't know if it was a physical thing or was it, he had the right protection. Anyways, Amar Lehem, he said to them, Kach Shana Remeir. This is the way Reb Meir learned the Mishnah. Al Elu Tumas and Nazir Megalech. On these Tumas, a Nazir can give a haircut. Al Ames, Bal Kazayis Min Ames. On a mace and a Kazayis Min Ames. Right? So if you look at the Rush, Rabbi Yehuda didn't learn. See, our Mishnah has that girsa. Rabbi Yehuda did not have that girsa. Why? Because, again, like we said, it doesn't have to say, if you're saying, why are you saying that you become tummy to a mace and a kazayas from a mace? Just say kazayas min a mace. You don't need to write the word mace, right? If a Nazir is going to have a problem because he touched a kazayas from a mace, then kol sheken if he touched a mace. So Rabbi Yehuda's version of the Mishnah did not have al hames in it. And then Sumchus raises his, you bought the Mishnah, Sumchus raises his hand and said, Reb Meir did have that version. Right? So Koas Reb Yehuda v'Amarle, Reb Yehuda got upset and said to them, Loi kach amarti lechem al yikansu talmidei Reb Meir lekan, Minesha mekantrin hein, because they're just trying to make problems. Right? Al kazayis min ames megaleach al ames loy kol shekain. Right? If he has to take a haircut based on a kizayis from a mace, so then on a mace is like kol shekain. So why are they learning mace? Fine. So he got upset. So on Talmud Aleph now.
Is this another difference between Nazir and Al-Hafiz? It's a Stam Mishnah. It's neither a Meir or a Yehuda.
Yeah, I don't know. What went on with how? I mean, the Rush says it was Rabbi Yehuda teaching the Mishnah. So I don't know. So Amar Rabbi Yosi, and I don't know where Rabbi Yosi comes into the story here either. Right? So Amar Rabbi Yosi, Yomru, people are going to say Meir Shochav, Meir died, Yehuda Kos, Yehuda's mad, and Yosi Shosak, and Yosi is going to be quiet. Right? So Torah might tell then what's going to be with the Torah? Meaning we have to know who was right here. Was Rabbi Yehuda right? Or was Reb Meir right? So Rabbi Yosi, when it says in the Mishnah that the mace, that a Nazir cannot become tummy to a mace, is not talking about your regular standard mace, because that's pashut. Like Rabbi Yehuda said, that's pashut that it's not, that he can't become, that he becomes tummy, he's going to need to start again. Right? Because if your kazayas from a mace is tummy, then for sure a mace. But we're talking about a mace that has no busser on it. Right? So since there's no busser there, maybe you'd think that it's not going to be matama the nazir. That's what one thinks now.
Yaakov.
Yeah.
And the kazayas from a mace, does that require Yiddish kfura? Any of these little pieces, do they require Yiddish kfura? So if not, I don't know. If yes, I don't have a kasha. If not, then maybe the Havamina would be, because he has a din, he has to mace mitzvah, so he can be metapel with the mace. He has to be skayif to be metapel with the mace. But maybe the saver, whatever, he doesn't have to be, because he can't. He doesn't require. There's no mitzvah for him to touch it.
Well, because it's only a small amount.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the din, so
I don't know. Oh, I mean, Pashtus is as long as, well, that's what we're going to do over the next couple of blocks. See exactly what the minimums are of with flesh, without flesh. So right now, Gemara is thinking that you would think that he had a body without a kazayas of basar, then maybe you wouldn't become tummy to it. So that's what the Mishnah is telling you that you do. But the Gemara asks about Dayan Yomer, they could still say al aver mimenu megaleach, if there's an aver, people are going to say that if there's an aver, an actual limb, then the Nazir has to take the haircut and it becomes tummy. Al kuloi, like kol shekain, right? Isn't it for sure on kuloi? Meaning we said in the next part of the Mishnah that the aver is megaleach, so then isn't kuloi a kol shekain? So it doesn't make sense. Ella kedamar Rabbi Yochanan lo nitzrach elu lenefel shalei niskasher ivarav begidin. Talking about a nefel, which is a fetus that it did not, the gidin, what do you call the gid, the sinews, did not form yet, and then she had a miscarriage, right? So we're trying to say that even there, that's called nafshois mace, and that would be metama, right? So hachanami b'neifa shalei niskasher ivarav begidin. So too here we're talking about where there's a nefel that was not. It's the gidin were not connected, right? So Mamela, the chiddush is that they still becomes tummy, right? Fine. So Rav has a different teretz. So we said it's talking about where there's a majority of the binyan, meaning there's a majority of the bones of the person, or Leroy, I'm sorry, that's no. Leroy Binyane means a majority of the, what do you call it? Skeleton. There's a majority of the skeleton there. That's enough to be Matama. Leroy Minyane is that it's a Roiv Minyan, the Roiv, if there's more than 50% of the bones that are supposed to be there, Sha'ain Bahen Roiv Atzamas, but they don't have a Roiva of Atzamas, so that you would think that those guys don't make the Nazir Tameh. Kamashmalim is saying that it does make the Nazir Tameh. Right? So basically we have 3 pshatim of what the chiddush is when the Mishnah says to become Tameh to the mace to the body of a mace. The first one was that it's talking about a mace that doesn't have a kazayas basar, which Gemara didn't really like that. So then the Gemara said, like Rabbi Yochanan, it's talking about a nefel whose the sinews, the gidin haven't formed yet to connect it, so that would still be considered a mace. It's talking about where it's rive of the skull, the skeleton, or rive of the amount of bones, and there's she'ein b'hen rive atzamas, so it doesn't have a rive of bones, but since it's still rive of the minion, so then therefore it's going to count as a tummy mace. All right, okay. We'll stop over here, and we continue stuff tomorrow. B'ezras Hashem. Yeah.
According to Rabbi Yehuda, nefel is not matame.
According to Rabbi Yehuda, no.
He doesn't have the girsa.
What?
Rabbi Yehuda didn't have alames.
I mean, because he didn't have it, because he says, well, I don't think he has to disagree with the din. Right? It's just say that's not a din in the din. It does just in our Mishnah. He's not learning that way.
And then his culture cane falls off. There is no culture cane.
What do you mean, no culture cane?
You would have said the culture cane that he had, right? Hey, al kazayis when I'm sorry, al kazayis when I was megalech alames like culture cane. So Mamela, you can't have alames in the Mishnah. So Rameir has a good answer. Yeah, you should have it in the Mishnah for nefil.
Right.
I mean, it's mashma either that a nefil is not matami tumas mace, or according to Rabbi Yehuda, or that at least the Nazir will not have to be megalech for it.
Right.
Service, I have a question. When you were talking about the kazayas of blood from a mace, Is it only a kazayas that comes out once the person dies? My question is, I was on a Hever Kadisha call where the person unfortunately bled out, but they were bleeding all over the place throughout the apartment, over the sink, and there were cups that were filled, things like that. Would that mean they were leaning over the sink and they filled a cup? Eventually, unfortunately, they went to the bathroom where they were nifter. Does that mean that that coast that had more than a kazayas in it was Tomei Mace? Even though it didn't come out at the time of death, it came out unfortunately during that Nebel Kufa.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Isn't that almost definitely done on Nefesh?
And therefore what?
It would be Tommy even afterwards. It becomes Tommy Mace. The death was through that.
So is that like by Shchita, you're saying?
I think so, yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know, Jesse. I don't know enough about this stuff.
Happened to my grandfather-in-law.
What? He bled.
They had to paddle him, and when they paddle an older person, they bleed all over. The body can't handle it. The blood was everywhere. Technically, he was still alive. They gathered all the dam and buried it with them. About 150 towels.
Crazy. Yeah, I'm saying unfortunately by accidents. That's what we do. Right? We do that. I'm not so sure. Is it matama? If the blood that came out when it was alive, is that blood now matama? We do it out kvura, but I'm saying would that be matama? That's what Jesse's asking.
Right, 'cause it was part of, unfortunately, that person's last moments of what made it the last moments. That's why I was curious.
I'm not sure how I'm not sure if we I don't know. To me, it sounds like from here that it's not necessarily going to be matama. But
Because
I'm not sure.
hypothetically could have stopped after that.
Correct.
You mean potentially had someone gotten there early enough who had the knowledge to stop it, they could have stopped it from happening?
The what?
Where was the dam coming from? He was coughing it up?
No, it's something called epistaxis. Unstoppable nosebleed.
That can't be stopped. It's not just.
I mean, in a hospital, there are ways to do it, but you have minutes. And usually
They
people
go
think it's
in
going to
with
stop.
Cauterize the blood vessels all the way down.
That's why there was so much by the sink, because the person ran out of tissues.
Wow.
Everything.
Well, on that note, it's a pleasure having you back.
Yeah. How's your night looking?
No, I can't believe like you're gonna